No, and man, and I didn't have it. I didn't have it to pay back. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a little bit of financial backing. Like I say, the boys I partnered with, they were pretty stout at the time, but we couldn't. Nobody could stand to lose. And man, we just went to work selling it. And man, folks, it took a minute. But what was really cool about that whole piece of it, um, just to put it in perspective on how, and I say this with all humility, not bragging. We worked our tails off, but it was just the Lord blessing our efforts.
Welcome, Dakota and Chance. I'm super excited today to get with Chance here. We heard you told me about Chance's story, and I was like, well, we have to do another podcast together because we had so much fun on the first one.
Yeah, man.
And then we brought old Chance along now, and we got to hear his story is way better than both of ours put together.
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, you and I had our podcast. It was great. Like I said, I've got my own. We've been on a couple and whatnot, and I've always told my story about how I met Chance David and working for him now, and just kind of told you about it. And you hit me up about getting him on, and here he is. So I'll let you do your thing, and we'll see if we can make something happen this evening. So,
Chance David, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, and you?
Good. So, start us off, man. Farmer, I mean, just from what we've talked about before, I love the story. I love how you got to be where you were, and I want to try to show the people that follow me that story, and maybe they can come to some inspiration or guidance or whatever that may be, because it's really fun, and I love that, dude. I love the outfit. And prior to this, guys, Chance did say he didn't wear a hat inside, but we said we have to wear the hat.
Talk me into it.
We talked.
Not watching.
We talked Chance into it because this hat is so cool, man. We had to wear it. So Chance, to start us off, man, where you grew up, and give us the whole spill, man.
Yeah, I grew up in a little town in northwest Louisiana, right out of Logansport. And, got through my adolescence and whatnot. The thing then, and it's still the thing now, is, got to go to college. That was a big driving point with my parents, get you an education, get out, get you a job. Went to college and got out of school, actually educated in the science of forestry, and met a girl towards the tail end of college, and she and I have been married 23 years now. Moved across the river to Joaquin, Texas, which that's synonymous with Logansport. I mean, the Texas line, the Sabine River. I mean, it's just, you can throw a rock across it. So, but we live on the Texas side in Joaquin. We ranch on both sides of the river. You said farming. We don't farm. We ranch.
Sorry.
We raise beef, And, that's always been a passion of ours, third generation rancher. The homestead we live on there on the Texas side of the river, we got our 100-year ranch accreditation. Probably Lucinda was just born. My daughter. She'll be 16 this March. So it's been that many years ago that we got that accreditation. And so, there at the ranch, we just raise beef, for the American people to consume.
So that's crazy. So you're raised in Louisiana, and you have a degree. What college?
Stephen F. Austin.
Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah.
And what was you say it one more time?
I've got a degree in the science of forestry.
Forestry. Say a forestry degree.
Yeah. Yeah. So at that time, the forestry industry, the Piney Woods of East Texas, I mean, there was just dozens of sawmills, plywood mills, paper mills, everything just thriving. It was a viable industry. I mean, it was as vibrant as some of your smaller oil field places. Just a plethora of infrastructure built around it. People move from, states away to get to it, And so, growing up, I was a little adverse to a career in the oil field. Cause what it meant for me was, seeing my dad with long hours, working out of town, same thing we do now, it's just like, well, I don't really want that. But so, leaving a few things out, naivety really brought me to this point. I was thinking I'm going to go to college like my parents wanted me to, get an education. I was going to marry a hometown girl, a little white house with a white picket fence, a Labrador, and 3 kids.
Which you did have the White House with the white picket fence. That's when we first met 20 years ago.
I did. We still have that home. We still that home. My mother-in-law lives in it, but yeah, it's a little white ranch
What?
house with a white picket fence. So
You made it. You did it.
we made it.
He is serious when he says, the dream that we grew up, us guys, rocking around our 40s, the old college degree, house, white picket fence, married, 2 kids, and a dog.
Yeah,
That was this
it.
guy when we
That
met.
was it.
That
That
was
was the
it,
American
man.
dream.
Man, I thought if I could, manage my career with one of those Fortune 500 timber companies, work my way up, and get 100 head of cows paid for, shoot, man, I'd never seen another poor day. But as it would happen, the Lord didn't have that in plan for me.
Okay.
I got involved in the corporate industry, and man, it was tough on me. I'm not a yes man. A lot of red tape. Told them what I thought, made them the most money I could, and then but I watched the nuances and how I was being forced to navigate my career to advance. I was like, man, I'm not that guy. So as luck would have it, but through the relationships I built there with one of those larger timber companies, I was actually, to preface, I was head of procurement at one of the largest plywood mills in Northwest Louisiana. Shucks, they consumed, I don't know, a couple 100,000 tons of fiber a year. But through relationships I built there, I met a couple of guys that we later on partnered up in multiple businesses, and I left the corporate world for those very reasons. It's like I got to go do something else because I can't live like this. I always felt like I was getting suffocated, and at the end of the day, it just wasn't worth it. I've got I developed this habit early on, and this was the first time I realized it. I woke up one morning and I couldn't get out of bed to go to work. I was like, I don't want to go do this anymore. And that's happened a few times in my life. And every time this happened, I know it immediately. I got to start looking for something different to do. And that's part of that is, you know, you can call it what you want to, but it's conviction. You're going a different direction. You can't see it. You don't know how you're going to get there, but something's changing. So through those relationships, man, those guys I partnered up with, real good guys, man. They were actually friends of mine, real close friends of mine.
I want to let me go back here. So you were at the corporate business. So I want to go all the way back because I feel like we're going fast here. What made you want to do forestry? We didn't say why did you want to do forestry in college? Was it because you said the industry was big? So was it because of money? Was it because you saw like this was where the industry, like a big major industry, was headed, and you were trying to follow money, or maybe it was like your family was doing that or thing?
None of my family had anything to do with the timber industry. It was stability. It was that naivety. There was that steady paycheck. 50 hours a week, benefits, the whole 401, everything you could think you'd want in a career. But also at that time, in that area, in that part of the world, the timber business was like it is in the oil field. I mean, you had crafts in the timber business. You had contract marking crews, you had contract logging crews, contract trucking crews. I mean, it was a multi-billion-dollar business in East Texas and Western Louisiana, and that's no exaggeration. And that was alluring too, because you could go out and labor all day marking timber in the woods, cruising timber, estimating timber, making deals with landowners, interacting, buying literally millions of dollars worth of timber a year. It was there for, and it was exciting. It was vibrant. It was fast paced. But what happened there was a mill die off.
Okay.
So I don't want to bore you with silviculture, but basically, when I started, there was a 50-year rotation on pine timber. They cut it when it was 50 years old because of the quality of the lumber, and it made better lumber, made better plywood. Well, as innovation, if you want to call it that, took over, these mills, they started introducing technology that could basically process a lower quality tree, a younger tree. So now the typical rotation there in that area is about 30 years. So you reduce that rotation by 20 years, shucks, you get a different kind of product.
Yeah, and by the way, I love this that I've read about that whole thing happening into the world. How do you think that affects like the economics of the reliability and longevity of products as a whole?
I think it, there's a multiplier to it, and I couldn't tell you to it, but for structural, it takes more of that lower quality lumber to get the same effect. But in essence, it's minuscule in the scheme of things. Because, at that time, even we were importing a lot of lumber from Canada, a lot of paper products from Canada. So it was like, it was hyper competitive. And you take that in culmination with those antiquated mills, they just couldn't compete anymore. And then so shorter rotations, Those timber companies in the area, even with government incentives, planting timber. I mean, shucks, they did a really good job promoting the landowner that was ranching on that country. Had a cow turned out, barely making it. Hey, planting pine timber, and you'll make this many hundreds of millions of trillions of dollars. So, and the government subsidized that planting. There was government assistance to get those acres planted. So, pile of more acres were planted, and then that resource developed. And when there was an abundance of resource, well, that creates some supply and demand. It was a depressed market. But those antiquated mills, those older mills, still couldn't efficiently process that younger timber. So they shut down. Case in point, there was a mill die-off. There was a mill die-off there, and there were thousands of jobs lost. I mean, it decimated a lot of communities. It really did, because they thrived on nothing but the timber business. And so, but going back to your
Well,
question,
yeah. So you then okay. So at this point in time, you were you had graduated college, and then when did you go in the corporate business? The corporate business that you said, hey, I hated it. When was that? When was the time period there?
So, but while I was going to college, I worked for a larger firm,
Uh-huh.
actually a Chris Houghton facility. We took pine timber, treated it, made telephone poles. Still happens every day. So I was somewhat introduced to the corporate world. But after I got out of college with a college degree, I worked for them a couple of years. So this is probably 2006-ish when I decided that, shucks, I'm done with this. I graduated in 2000. I think 2001, something
Mhm.
like that. So 5 more years, but I had 3 years prior to that experience in the timber business. So I was working while I was going to college.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was at that point where I had to go do something different.
Okay. Okay. So then we went to college. We realized the corporate world is not for you, which I've told my story. I feel the same way whenever I felt like it was a corporate business that it wasn't what my calling would be. And like you said, when you wake up, I really liked your now. When you wake up and you don't want to go to work anymore, but you have a joy for life. I feel like I still had a joy for life, and like, why don't I want to go do this? It was because
Mhm.
you have to, as a man, you got to tell yourself that this is not the path that
Mhm.
you need to go down. So what did you do after that?
Yeah, so like I
Yeah.
said, during my tenure there in the corporate world, I met a couple of guys, ended up being really good friends with them. And that transitioned into some partial ownership in multiple companies. The first one was I stayed in the timber business, but it shifted dynamics. We bought a hardwood sawmill in southeast Texas, down just north and east of Houston, and I moved down there for 4 or 5 years, something like that. And I learned the manufacturing side of the piece of the business. And through that, so it was a hardwood mill in southeast Texas, not far from the Port of Houston. So a majority of that product was sold through the Port of Houston. So we would, the coolest thing, we would sell our cants, 12 by 12 cants, 10 by 10 cants. A can is a square piece of lumber for all of you at home that don't know. So, um, and we sold them to
For us hosts that don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, sitting there like, okay, let's see what this
Like,
is.
this is oil and gas.
yeah. So, and I don't want to bore you with these details, but it's really neat to me. And you know as well as I do, once you learn something, you never lose it. It's yours forever. So we sold those cants to a wood dealer that had some really cool automated sawing techniques where they were shipping pipe to China, a pile of it out of Texas at that time. So if they had a load of 12-inch pipe or 24-inch pipe going out, we'd run those cants to that automated saw and they'd cope that to the pipe size. And then they would stuff the belly of them ships and barges with that cribbed pipe. So we sold that, and then
So they would actually put the wood in the pipe.
well, no,
Yeah.
no. You'd layer of wood,
Layer pipe.
layer pipe
Okay,
in those cribbed holes,
I got
and
you.
then you'd
I
put
got
another layer of wood so the pipe didn't touch.
Got
It was for pipe protection and stability.
And what were they making out of that?
Shucks, they were. I don't know that we need to get into that. They were sending it to China to be real smeltered and resold in the United States. Yeah, they were shipped. Yeah. So I got to learn that piece of the business,
Yeah.
and it was cool, man.
And then do you want to go into details about like what did you like? How did you make out? Did that was your first sale of your first business? That's the first time you've ever you built this business and then you sold this business.
Well, we're gonna. I don't know what if you want to stay chronological or what. So yeah. So
That was at the first business you've sold.
That was the first when you started.
that's first when it started.
Started.
It was probably the third one.
Third one sold.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
third or fourth one.
Okay.
So we did all that stuff, and through that, we started cutting a different dimension cant that was used to build traco mats for the oil field.
Traco mats for the oil field.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
a cant is
A square piece of lumber.
a square
It's
piece of.
it's a big square at any length.
Okay.
So these were 8x8s and 10x10s and 12x12s. Well, we've all seen a traco mat.
Yeah.
So that the majority of that wood comes from the southeast. It's all hardwood.
Okay.
So we were actually selling those cants, and I started building mats, and then I started gaining a few customers in the oil field. And simultaneously, the Haynesville Shale was landing on us back home in Shelby County. It had already hit northwest Louisiana, and it was landing on us in Shelby County. And again, I'm going to leave a lot of things out, but simultaneously, one of my partners, that dude was sharp, man. He had a business sense, and he was so savvy to see things. At that time, I couldn't see things, so I was worried about the work piece of it. I just thought, I was still transitioning, and I was like, okay, if I just work harder and do more, I'll succeed. And that, again, that's part of that naivety piece of it.
That's a fallacy.
Yeah. That's something you read in a self-help book you need to throw away.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. You need to get up early and stay late. But this cat here, man, he could see it. He could see it coming. He could see it going. And so what he did was, there was a rail spur popped up for sale in our hometown, Shelby County, right there, not too far from Joaquin, 15, 20 miles. Well, he had the foresight for us to buy that. And we bought it for the derivative of the wood market. At the time, there was a local paper mill wanting to see if they could make paper out of eucalyptus chips. So we railed down eucalyptus chips off the East Coast, trucked them down to the paper mill. They made paper. Inadvertently, we had a hand in planting a pile of eucalyptus in Southeast Texas. It's still growing today. So we were part of that. But then the oil field landed on us, and it was like, okay, let's call up the railroad and some rock quarries and see if we can't rail material into this little rail spur and resell it to the oil field. That took a lot.
I'm gonna go back because I think this is so interesting. Okay. So just the thought of this. So they took eucalyptus. Tell us that. I love that idea.
Okay,
Yeah. So they yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was like, eucalyptus, they did what with paper? And I'm
I've
going,
told everybody.
I'm
I've told
so-
everybody.
and-
That's
and
intriguing.
I'm sorry.
I was like, and we went through that so fast.
That's-
And I'm like, when I'm listening to this, I'm like,
That's-
eucalyptus paper?
Hey,
It's not connecting for me.
right.
And I apologize. I'm schooled in versing these things, so
Yeah.
it's common vernacular.
Yeah, it's
to me.
common. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they found was there are certain properties in a eucalyptus tree that have similar properties in some of the native species that are grown in Southeast Texas. And those species that are grown in Southeast Texas are conducive to making a certain size chip that can be injected and soaked, and they call it liquor, chemical. Basically, you can make paper out of those wood chips. And so they thought that the makeup of the eucalyptus was similar enough to try it. And it did, it worked. And they also thought the salinity in Southeast Texas and the soil conditions were conducive to growing eucalyptus. And they were right about that too. The difference is the caveat, the cool piece about all that is a native species in East Texas takes about 20 to 25 years to mature enough to make paper out of it. And that's depending on site index, the quality of the soil. But a eucalyptus tree can do it in 12. So it was like, okay, we got a cheaper, faster growing resource that'll work. That was the push behind that.
And that makes a business. So whole market, it made a whole market. You getting eucalyptus faster.
And we had a very, very minute function in that, but it was still cool to do.
Yeah.
I mean, so
That's super cool. Okay. So anyways, we were after the eucalyptus thing. Okay.
Yeah. So and again, simultaneously, we were there with the rail spur, and that buddy of mine I partnered with, he had the foresight to say, man, this is an economic weapon. We need to figure out how to use it. And there's no native material in East Texas or Western Louisiana. All of it either is trucked in or railed in. So
I guess the closest thing natural material would be iron ore, which is played out, and the glauconite, which don't hold up to the weight.
yeah, what is there is low quality.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, man, as it was, like I say, it was just, I watched it. Looking back on it, it's easy to talk about it, but at the end time, I didn't see it. It was just the Lord put people in our lives and took people out and just put us in the right spot at the right time. And we took a lot of risk. I mean, we didn't have this stuff sold. We didn't have a plan. We had zero MSAs with anybody. We just say there's 20 rigs and within a, 15, 20 mile radius of us, surely we can sell it. And so we negotiated back and forth and up and sideways with rock quarries and the railroad, which can be, pretentious and difficult to deal with at times. But we finally made a deal where they brought us a trainload of rock, and I think at the time it was $250,000. And man,
Sweating bullets.
it was a big risk, Bob. It was a big risk, man. I tell you, I was like, it was cool, man.
Yeah,
It was
what
like,
year was it? Do you remember what year this was?
Would have been around 2009ish.
Yeah, somewhere, yeah,
9ish, 10, right around
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's not just play money. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and man, and I didn't have it. I didn't have it to pay back. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a little bit of financial backing. Like I say, the boys I partnered with, they were pretty stout at the time, but we couldn't. Nobody could stand to lose. And man, we just went to work selling it. And man, folks, it took a minute. But what was really cool about that whole piece of it, um, just to put it in perspective on how, and I say this with all humility, not bragging. We worked our tails off, but it was just the Lord blessing our efforts. We ended up capturing, which is pretty uncommon, but we ended up capturing about 90% of the market share in that business. Yeah, we were moving when we sold that thing. That was the first one we sold. We sold the rock business. We were moving 1.2 million tons a year through that little old rail spur. Which, to put it in perspective, like I say, that was 90+% of the market at the time. So some of it was proximity, some of it was effort, but all of it was the Lord blessing that effort
Absolutely.
and putting the right people in the right place at the right time. So, but through the course of that, and tertiary to what we're talking about, we still had the sawmill at the time, and you'd show up with a dump a truckload of rock. All right, I need more rock. Y'all start rocking these pads, and like, hey man, you got a backhoe you can spread this with. You got a blade you can spread this with. Hey, you got a dozer you can build this pad. Hey man, we got to lay this pipeline. Can you get some crews together to do that? And so it just slowly morphed into a a third business, a construction company. And so,
The opportunity started to present itself to you.
yeah, because like I said earlier, that buddy of mine I partnered with, he saw that rail
Yeah.
spur as a weapon. It's an economic weapon, and once we figured out how we can utilize this to our advantage, we took full advantage of it. Because you had, for lack of better words, you had what they wanted, you had what they needed. They had to have something to stabilize that soil to stand their rig up on.
And you guys had it in the middle of their field, which cut down on trucking costs. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah,
That's just
yeah.
me, growing up in that business. That I mean, man, like he says, using that term, that economic weapon. I mean, man, when you're putting the material in the middle of the field via rail spur, you're dangerous because what you can sell your rock for and be profitable.
Mhm.
I mean, your competition can't touch
Yeah.
due to the trucking, right? So that's
Yeah, logistically, it could have been a better place.
Yeah.
They really could.
Yeah.
so that was pretty cool to see. And out, about that time, just to give a little background of that, people know, I speak about Chance on a regular basis, right? During that time, it was cool for me because when I met him and my brother are best friends. And when I met him and my brother were doing a cow deal. He was still in the timber business
Mhm.
then. And that, for me to be like the little brother, kind of my best friend's little brother type deal, to see him grow through the timber business and getting the mill, and then watching them start in the rock business and seeing that morph into dirt construction and pipeline construction. It was pretty cool to see, and like I said, I just wanted to get that out there, see it because he's Chancel. He remembers it because he lived it, but just caveat that back of just kind of explaining the rest of it's pretty cool too, though. So I like telling the story.
Yeah. No, that's
You know what I
dude,
mean?
no, that's super
Just kind of
interesting.
tying it together for the people that don't know him on the level that I do know. So
Yeah, I can only imagine. Just because what we do on a daily basis in our story is not as long as his, and that you look back and there's that like daily grind of like you trying to put in this effort day in and day out, and then we getting the chance to look back and getting to like look at someone that's done that and enjoy and go, man, dude, you're really like,
yeah,
you really killed it.
Yeah, that's just to add to that, it's pretty cool because getting mentors and entrepreneurs and a lot of your entrepreneurs turn into mentors later in their life, right? Because they share that knowledge that they gained making those tough decisions, right? And that's one thing, like I said, I hop in his pocket every chance I get, because I'm always learning something. But it's super cool to get him to slow down long enough to relive some of this stuff, because he's still on the grind. He likes telling everybody he's slowing down a little bit. He may lie to himself and say he's slowing down. He's not. He's still full steam ahead, right? But it's cool to get to slow him down and get him to reflect back and tell that story. And it's pretty good. I enjoy hearing it every time. Just it gives it gives guys like me that because we grew up in that era of college degree, go borrow all that money, go get a degree. With that degree, you'll get a good enough job to get a mortgage, maybe one new vehicle in the home, get married, have a couple kids, and be a good little taxpayer. And we were all fed that lie, right? And by his own admission, and Chance, you correct me if I'm wrong, he bought into that. And because that's how we were raised to do. That's what every commercial on TV was: go to college, get this, get that. You know what I mean? And then for me, I was like, I went for a year, man. I was like, man, there's got to be a better way than this. You know what I mean? I'd rather starve to death and dig ditches than have to sit in this classroom any longer and drop, calculus 3 times again. You know what I mean? It just wasn't me. My mind don't work that way. But like I said, it's cool that he went that route and then went the other way. But for me to know a guy that had that degree and chose to go do something that I'm doing, kind of following his footsteps, and he made it, it gives guys, a few years behind him or a decade behind him, like, hey, I know a guy that did it, doing it this way, and I'm tracking, you know what I mean? So it's cool to just sit back and reflect, hearing him reflect on his past and stories and stuff. So I really enjoy, just having those conversations.
Yeah.
So,
dude, absolutely. No, I mean, it is said. I feel like if the people that are like the world's telling us, you got to go find, when you find that mentor that has done it and lived it and grinded through that, man, it's like that's the
spend as much time with those individuals as you possibly can.
Latch on to them and don't let go.
I've learned more in the past 8 months than I have in the past decade on. Not so, I know my craft, I know my trade, I know business, but I've learned more in the past 8 months about real business.
Yeah,
in 8 months, and I'm saying this to our viewers and our listeners, man. Like, when you find that right person, listen to them. Like accept the mentorship, especially those that are willing to tell you these things. Because, man, I thought I had it figured out. If you'd asked me in April of last year, man, you couldn't tell me nothing I didn't know. And I look back and I laugh at it because, it was the conversations, that me and him had over the years. And I'd tell him this, he'd look at me, and I never knew why he was laughing. He's like, "You fool, you'll see it."
Fool, yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I didn't say it though.
No, but I know him well enough to know exactly what he meant. But it's one of those things, I never knew why he was laughing until I, finally got the opportunity to go to work with him every day. And then now that he's taught, he's teaching me this other craft and teaching me more on the business side. I didn't have to ask why he was laughing. Hell, I look back and laugh at me too.
Yeah, right. That's right.
I mean? So, like I said, it's but yeah, man, it's super cool. And like I said, I really want the listeners to to take away of the mentorship, man, because dude, I'm living it every day. I finally got to work with that one individual that had multiple successful business and doesn't mind teaching somebody that wants to learn. And for anybody out there that is looking for that, man, and finds that or knows that guy, man, yoke up to them.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Be right there with them step for step.
Yeah.
So,
No, I totally agree, and I have I've latched on, and I the same scenario happened is that I think we all do. I came to a point of inflection in my life where I thought I knew everything, and then actually my career went crashing down, and I wasn't doing good. And then I came to like, well, I need to find this person, and once I did, it like I just did what that person's. Honestly, it's funny. As I just took that person's advice that has done it, been there, done it,
hmm
and it had that advice that I have in my business right now over the has not let me down, not one time, you know, of how we're to conduct business, and someone who I admire and look up to. And so it's really, yeah. Anyway, sorry, we get on that little soapbox about that, but people, you got to find that person, man, you know.
Man,
And what I will say is for people, I think it's an excuse for people when they say they can't find that person, because there's a ton of people like Chance. There's a ton of people like Chance that would love the opportunity to actually. I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but my mentor, you know, Chance here, is that they have no problem. Like there's no problem with trying to help someone that is seeking help.
they want
There's
to
a
teach those that want to learn. They
Yeah.
don't have time to waste for people that think they're entitled to their knowledge or entitled to being at their level without the knowledge. That's something I'm not, because I grew up with businessmen,
Mhm.
but they were all. I was a kid. I wasn't ready to seek that mentorship. Right.
Mhm.
I just knew they were successful businessmen. And but like I said, it's you need to go to those guys being humble and let them see that you really want to learn their craft and learn their way of doing things. And man, I think we're wired as men or as people, more so with men in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'm wired to teach what little I know. And I think as we get older, and Chance, you correct me if I'm wrong, like, those guys enjoy growing young men or young women or whatever, so I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, Chance. Yeah, we're going, Chance. We'll get back to the story. But what is your thoughts about that?
Along the lines of,
As far
Like
as the
your
mentorship.
mentorship. Yeah, the mentorship.
oh yeah, there's a couple of men, probably four total, that they were brought into my life at pivotal times, and they give me that word or that instruction, or just maybe that comment that stuck, and I go back to them on a daily. I remember those things they told me, that advice they told me. One of the best piece of advice I got from one of my mentors. He had big plans for me, but again, the corporate world wasn't going to fit for me. This was while I was going to college. I was probably 17, 18, just barely out of high school. And we had to clock in, had a time clock, punched it every morning. And man, had to be there at 7. I was there at 6:59. I mean, that was me. I was a guy. And he pulled me aside one time. He said, "Man," he said, "you're way too young to be in that big of a hurry." He said, "Man, get here 15 minutes early. That'll be on time." And that stuck with me forever. And so, but what it also made me realize is when I get up in the morning and I don't take the time to slow down, pray, get my thoughts on track, get my plan together, I leave in a hurry. I'm in a hurry all day long, and I'm not productive. So yeah, so those several of those men, four in particular in my life, that really helped me. They nudged me in a certain direction. It wasn't hard nosed. You do this or else, but it was like, hey, look at this. Look at it this way. So that's super important. Again, I go back to this, and I pick on the motivational speakers and the self help books. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And I'm self made, but they're just hot mouth liars. I know who helped me, when they helped me, and how they helped me get in business and kept me in business. I can pick up the phone and call them right now, and there's no doubt there was probably 3 men that put me in the oil field business, give me the opportunity. Because to preface all that stuff with the rock and the oil field, I knew zero about it. I knew nothing about it. I was crafted in the timber business for whatever good it was for. So yeah, so to have those men in your life pointing you in the right direction, you just got to be attentive and not be hard headed, and just let that pride go and listen.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's it, man. It's awesome to see that you had that same experience growing up, and that I feel like it is one of the most important things for a man to have is that mentorship. and it gets passed down, rather than us reading from what society tells us what that needs to happen. Anyways, we'll get back to the story. I don't even actually, guys, I don't even
Back
remember
to the
where
rail
we were.
yard.
Oh yeah,
We were at the rail.
That's right.
yeah. Haynesville Shell.
Haynesville show.
Wrapping up the rail yard.
We're selling lots of rocks and
We were selling
getting-
rocks.
We're
Yeah.
selling the rail yard
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So we gained we started aggravating the market and the competition enough that we started getting suitors to buy that business, and we eventually sold to one of them. And but we still had
I'm sorry. You sold, just to clarify, you sold the rock selling
the
business.
rock business. Yeah.
Okay.
We still
And you were getting into construction, you said, at the same time?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, but you just sold the rock portion of it?
yeah.
Just sold the rail yard, right?
Yeah, we just sold the rail yard and the rock business. We kept the trucking side of it to move the material. We kept our oil field construction. We still had the sawmill at the time, and we also had, from the beginning, had a wood brokering business where we bought private landowner timber and logged it and resold it and to local mills and whatnot. So that timber business was always in the shadows, which is important because, man, we sold that rock business, and they asked me to stay on for 5 years. The company that bought it, and they gave us access to 4 or 5 other rail spurs on a commission basis. So it was 1, 2, 3. It was 4. So then we had 4 economic weapons that we could go utilize, and so we worked with them on a commission basis for those 5 years while simultaneously running those other 3 businesses. But towards the end of that 5-year period, after we sold the rock business, the Haynesville was winding down. It had pretty much just played. It hadn't played out by no means, but exploration was to a minimum there, and the construction piece of it was falling off. And we were at a point, my partners and I, where we were going different directions, and we was like, okay, it's pretty much time for a chance to drift on down the road. Sold the sawmill, sold my interest in all 3 of those businesses, and I went home for a couple of years. So yeah, and this is the point where really I think my career turned, or my path, what do you want to call it, turned. Because I went from having a lot of iron, a lot of employees, a lot of trucks at my disposal. If you called me for a job in the oil field, a construction job, I could do any or all of it because I had the resources. And this decision was relatively abrupt. So it wasn't like I'm going to go start my new deal and anything like that. I just phased out pretty rapidly. And then I found myself at home at the ranch, just, busting colts and tying down yearlings and, doctoring yearlings and, raising cattle.
Yeah, so for 2 years you went home and you didn't do nothing. Or you mean you didn't?
Yeah,
you
just
you
ranched.
ranched.
Yeah, just ranched.
How was that? Like,
It's one of them things. It wasn't 40 years in the desert. It was 2 years in the pine tree.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So once you go from building businesses to going back to ranch, I mean, how was it? How was it mentally?
I don't, it was the best and the worst you could imagine. I mean, you go from having everything you could possibly think of from a construction company being at your disposal to nothing. You have all this ability and zero opportunity. So it was humbling, but it was also gratifying. I got up and labored every day, which I worked every day before, but it was a different kind of work,
Yeah.
But, looking back on it, and even during that time reflecting, I didn't really understand why I had all this ability, had all this, what I considered to be skill, and the Lord wouldn't let me use it for what I thought was the proper use, which was to generate income. So I'm like, why am I in this spot? I mean, it didn't feel right, and I didn't like it. I was trying to fight my way out of it. I was trying to force things in other businesses just to get some traction financially. But looking back at it, the Lord just decided to put me in that spot to make me reflect and put things in real perspective, the spiritual and temporal perspective you're supposed to, because He puts us here. He gives you a certain skill set, and certain ability to perform certain tasks. And those are for His glorification, not for our gratification. Through all of that, Scripture tells us He's taking care of the birds of the air. They don't worry about nothing. So how much more better is He going to take care of us as children? So, He's going to provide our sustenance no matter what. And for those 2 years, I sat there and I ranched, which that's a passion of mine. I mean, I'm skilled and crafted as a cowboy, so it was good work, and we made a living. We got by, but again, in my selfishness and my pride, I was like, well, financially, I ought to be doing this because that's what I was doing. That's what I can do. But looking back, he moved people around again. He took people out that I never thought would be out of my life, put others in. He brought me to a place, and it wasn't a low place spiritually, and it really wasn't a low place temporally because we were still fine. I mean, we didn't starve or nothing. We still pay our bills, but it was a different spot than what my vanity thought it should be. And so, but then, and there was some wild things that happened spiritually, just just he brought me back, put me in service in one of his New Testament churches, put me to work. I was focused solely on what he wanted me to do. And then shoot, man, the phone rang one day. Literally. The phone rang one day. To preface that, there had been talks. I've got a partner now, he runs the East Texas division. And he had been dropping by, hey man, we ought to try this again. Because he had been in his business before too. And I was like, man, I'm done with that old field stuff, man. I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna catch yearlings and I wanna play cowboy, and that's just what I'm gonna do.
Told God your plans.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did. I was like, well, man, this is what I'm gonna do because it's all I can do. And but like I said, we had talked about it and this, that, and then one day the phone rang, literally. Just the night before I'd let a lot of things go, just turned a lot of things, just like,
Yeah.
I'm done. I can't fight it. I can't make it happen. It's a wrap. Phone rang 7 o'clock next morning.
And that's wild how that works, huh?
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
let it all
yeah,
go.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
and,
so-
then, and then the phone, yeah.
Man, it's crazy. I've heard him tell that story, multiple times, and it kind of makes my hair stand up every time because, man, my mother had a similar experience. We won't get into that, but it's just that's two people that are extremely close to me that have turned over, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chance, it's a form of submission. You just turn
Yeah,
stuff loose, and it's expose yourself. You know what I mean? And in both instances, I mean, it's like now,
Yeah.
now you're where I want you to do what I want to do with you.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you understand.
Yeah, and like I said, I just wanted to add to that, man, because it's when you hear that, and again, two people that are that close to you, and they got same experiences, different stories. It's like, you know what, there may be something to that. You know what I mean? So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No.
definitely so.
Oh yeah. No, I can totally see that. I've had where like, and if you don't let that go, you'll never get that call. It doesn't happen until you finally submit it,
Yes,
submit it
yeah.
over until you finally give it to God. It does not stop,
man,
and
you're
it will not stop.
That's right. That's right. You're talking to two guys here because I know his story. He knows a lot of my story back before we are the men you see today. But man, if you drag around the weight of this world, man, it'll drown you.
Yeah,
It'll
that's
drown you, dude. You gotta,
They'll kill
and
you.
man, you'll see. For me personally, and I've seen it in Chance over the years, and I'm sure he'll testify to this, is the level of maturity that one catches or one experiences after letting weight go. It's pretty crazy.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, back to
Yeah,
back to the
so
phone ringing.
yeah, the phone
rang.
The phone ring.
rings.
yeah, the phone rang. Cat I hadn't talked to in several years. Hey man, remember you used to do this for me? It ain't been going well the past couple of years, man. Can you come do this for me again? It's absolutely. It was small scale. Like, this is perfect. I can slide back into it. Just me and a few guys, just kind of ease around. And then Jody, my partner now, he had some opportunity down in Jamaica to go down there and regasify that island. I didn't realize them islands run on diesel powered generators. I had no idea. So there was a client he had that was, going to barge in liquefied natural gas and do that deal. So we had a part in that project, which was really cool. But then, folks heard, hey, you're down there working, some domestic clients, some older clients heard you're back in business. And it went from there. It morphed into, okay, well, I'm just going to get a few crews and stay low key. Went out to Carlsbad for one of our clients, and, just me and a few crews, and shucks, from 2017 till when we come over here, year before last year. Then this February will be 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
So-
Actually, going to Carlsbad, it goes back to what me and him always laugh about. No good story starts with I headed east. So we headed
Yeah.
west. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had it.
No
yeah,
good story starts with that.
Yeah, no good story starts with I headed east.
headed
So-
west. So yeah, so and then and over there, still just doing fine in the Delaware. Just a couple of clients, just clicking right along. And man, I just got this burden. I said, man, you got to go to the Permian. You got to go. I mean, and then I prayed about it. I fought it for what, a year.
No over
I
a year.
fought
Huh?
it for a year. So I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. And said I didn't need to. I said, I didn't mean to say I didn't need to. I didn't want to. I was like, man, it's going to turn into this. It's going to turn into that. What if I fail? All that stuff. And then just started pecking around over here. And like, again, the Lord blessed our efforts, And then it brought things into full perspective, going back to those 2 years when, I was on that hiatus, going back to work after that, it caused me to realize what he put me here to do. Exactly. He made me good, us good at extracting this product and moving it to the customer. He made us good at raising beef. He made us good at the timber business. I didn't try to get good at the oil field. I was 100% chasing a dollar when I first got in the oil field. I was chasing that illusion of prosperity. That was the flesh doing it. But now, when we started LOC, it was like, okay, he put me here to help move these hydrocarbons. I mean, that's exactly what he put me here to do. You can't drink it, you can't eat it. Its proper use is what we use it for. And I could say inadvertently, he made us good and crafted our hands and our minds in this business and made us successful at it. A lot of people say, we're the best at this, we're the best at that. We did it all ourselves. That ain't the truth with us. The Lord made us good at it, and he put us in a position to prosper because of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, Ellen, you guys you came to the Permian and doing construction here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the biggest company you've never
We're the
heard.
biggest little company you guys have never heard
The
of.
biggest little company we've never heard of. I didn't hear of it. And then
It was absolutely crazy, man. When I made my transition last April and come to work for LOC, like there was so many people that hit me up, like who is Locke International? Like, well,
Yeah.
y'all just
y'all hang on.
y'all just wait, get a seat, because I don't know where we're going, but we're going and we're headed there. We got our foot on the throttle, and that's one thing about it. When you're full steam ahead, you'll either get there or blow the motor up. And I guess we're still tracking.
I guess we're tracking, yeah.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what this year brings to us. But yeah, man, it was so just a little background on, we got the facility construction, right? We got our pipeline division. We've got a generator rental division. We just all we carry in our generators are the nat gas 400s. We stick with the bigger stuff. We've got a highline division as well. Those guys mainly their main focus is over around the Delaware, I guess, that area.
Yeah.
And we do some storm work. We had a part in the hurricane relief stuff. Was able to shift some crews over there to get some stuff done because it had kind of slowed down. It was just perfect timing, right? It's just one door doesn't close, gets tight, another one opens wide open, and then when that one goes to closing, the other one busts wide. So it just everything worked like it was supposed to. And like I said, we got some Miami guys that work for us as well. We've got a mechanical service group as well. And like I said, man, we're growing and it's nothing we're doing, man. We're employing good people and performing good quality work. And man, it's
Yeah, the Lord just brings these opportunities. Just like, where'd this come from? We'd be over here kind of fighting and fussing and banging our head looking for that door. And then you turn around, there's one open right over there, man. You already drift over and see what that, welcome mat laid out.
Yeah.
And and along those lines, of lesser or no notoriety at all, Dakotah can tell you, we don't have a marketing budget. I'm not on social media. He asked me to advertise. Oh, that's a waste of freaking money. You just need to convince them to let me get inside the fence, and then we'll show them what we can do. And that's the best marketing you can do, but I see the benefit in it, and going back to the opportunities and whatnot, that marketing, yeah, there's probably something to that. Everybody else does it. We might as well try it too. But, and Dakotah can attest to this. I firmly believe in this. We pray for closed doors before a big bid or something we're a little iffy about, or, a situation where we really need something to happen. there's a group of us men get together. We pray, hey, Lord, we don't pray, get us this project. We don't pray, let us have it. We pray, Lord, if this ain't for us, shut the door. Do not let us go through it. And how many times is it like, God, man, we didn't get it. We prayed for that door to be closed and didn't get, a multi-million-dollar project. 45 seconds later, the phone rings. Now you got one that was 2 to 3 sizes that size just handed to you.
And
How many times that happens?
And I mean, it happens. It's freakish how much it happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really is. And like I said, for, a guy like myself that is recently in the past several months, got back on track with my faith and getting back to be, the man that God's called me to be, seeing that stuff, seeing it firsthand. I mean, I'm not hearing about it. I'm not watching it on TV. I'm not hearing it on the radio. I'm not hearing my buddies talk about it. I'm living it. I'm living it. I mean, it's first point of view. I mean, it's right here in front of me. It's like, it's crazy how stuff comes together, and it's absolutely insane, man. But just to further elaborate on that, it's like, because if we would have took that smaller job, if we'd have prayed for that door to be open, and we'd have took that little job, we'd have missed 3 times the revenue with the same group of guys, because we were tied up on this deal that we thought we had to have. And now it's like, man, like I said, there's about 4 or 5 of us on those bigger jobs. We'll get on the phone and we'll pray before we submit a big bid, man. And it's like, hey, to paraphrase our prayer, it's, Lord, if you want us to have it, give it to us. If not, we'll keep plowing. We'll keep plowing, and we're firm believers that if the harvest will come, keep plowing. Eventually you'll look back behind you, there'll be some fruit back there somewhere. That's kind of the way I view it. And like I said, Chance can probably put it in better words than me.
No, it comes in seasons. You plow and you plant. The Lord blesses the increase, gives the increase, then you harvest. And that's the process.
Yeah, no, story's super cool. What I'll say is that I want to know about what's the future. What are you looking for the future? And I do think that your story is really cool. When I met you in December, I was like, I have to have you on the podcast because for one, I love hearing people's stories, but then secondly, I feel like it's totally a really interesting story, and I've enjoyed having
I appreciate you
this
having me on.
podcast. I've enjoyed it a lot, hearing it again. So what? But yeah, what's the what's your future? What's it like? I don't know. How old are you now?
46.
46. So what? So where are we going now? Where are we headed?
You set goals and you make plans, and we have our plans, but the Lord has His plans. So we're going to do whatever the heck He allows us to do, whatever His will directs us. But at my age, and I'm not old by no means. I've got a lot of life left in me, hopefully.
Just got a lot of miles.
Yeah, got a lot of miles. I feel like with I feel like I'm antiquated to a certain degree in my thinking and my actions and my doing, as far as the industry goes. But so phasing out eventually. When I can get Dakotah schooled up to help me more. But I believe this, because there might be something else the Lord wants me to do outside of this. I'm not convicted to go anywhere soon. But I was convicted to make a severe change in my management and my company. To what avail, I don't know. Like I said, we've got our plans, we've got our temporal plans, we got our financial plans. But again, we don't know what our portion is. We don't know what the Lord wants us to have or what He's going to allow us to have business wise. And what we've realized, 20 something years worth of career and a few years over here, we limit what the Lord wants us to have. We limit. We can't do that. Well, then shucks, all of a sudden you're doing it, and everybody else wants to know how they do that. Well, you want to tell them, well, I was working while you was sleeping. I got up early and stayed late. I was the first one there and the last one to leave.
Got there 15 minutes early, like a timberman.
Yeah. But that's just being facetious, and that's a lie. I mean, we didn't. We work. I mean, you got to get up and labor. Scripture tells us you're going to eat by the spread of your brow, or spread of your face, actually. So we know we've got to toil and fight those briars and fight those snares and fight those thorns, as Scripture says. But, success has come from the Lord. I mean, 1,000%. Like I say, we sit down, we do a budget, Q1, Q2, all those plans. Here's where we want to be financially. And then we get there and we look back, and we got there, but the plan, not by our plan, he might have did it by something totally different.
We had this map,
Yeah.
and then this come over here. You know what I mean? It's you know, I'll give them a prime example of you know, without going into too many details, but a couple of years ago, me and him were riding around the field out here, and we were talking about. I thought, man, what's the plan? You know, I'm just he was in town, stopped by. I already had probably one of the earlier jobs, one of the first big jobs out here he got with a good customer of ours, and I'd finished up work for the day, and I called him. It was later in the evening, and I went and hopped in the truck with him. We were riding around, and we were just talking about you know, basically the same question he was asking, what's the plan? And I asked him point blank, what's the plan? He said, I don't know. I'd like to, you know, scale our company, you know, this amount of profit over the next year and a half, 2 years. And the reason that stuck with me is because we did it in less than half of that. And I'd had nothing to do with it at that time, you know, since I have, but they were already well on their way when I come on board. Right. And it's just to show that you can have your plans and you can set your goals. And they really don't mean anything at the end of the day. And all kind of businessmen that watch this will argue with me day and night. And, you know, it's okay, you know, for the guys that want to worship at the altar of I, by all means, get after it. I've done it. It didn't work for me. Chance has done it. I don't imagine it worked for him either. So we have our plans, and we draw our business map, but we're not so naive to think that, man, well, our map sucks. You know what I mean? We're going the good Lord's taking us in a different direction. And it was fun to see, because you know, again, that was something I got to see firsthand. Is we had the way we were, you know, he was wanting to do it, and then it kind of just come out of nowhere with some different stuff that come together. So we're excited to see where 2025 brings us. Man, we've got some plans that again, we've got our plans. We'll see, you know, we'll see what the good Lord blesses and whatnot. We'll see which direction he takes us, and I guess we'll.
Yeah, because without a doubt, we know why we're here and what our purpose is. You know, we like to say we're crafted, we're schooled, and when we're fairly decent at what we do. But at the end of the day, you know, I know for a fact why he put me here, why he put me in the Permian, why he put me on this earth. And again, that's the craft piece of it is cool, but ultimately he put me here to tell him about his son. So I meet people out here. If I would have stayed in that corporate position right there, hometown, closed captured audience, I meet people and talk to people out here I never would have talked to otherwise. You'll meet people at a restaurant. Case in point, I met a guy during COVID. You know, when they were getting ramped back up, the restaurants opened back up, but there was limited seating, you know, staffing. And I sat with a guy. I said, man, when you sat with me, stranger, I got to tell him about Christ and the saving salvation, the blood, you know. And I would never been able to do that if I'd have stayed home and were still petting my Labrador and raising them kids, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
knowing why you're here and what you're here to do has been probably the most gratifying thing that I've ever come to the realization of.
Yeah, I love it. And I love your story, Chance. And Chance, you, any kids? One kid, Chance, father of one, married for how long?
23 years.
23 long years and lots of business.
He said they were super short.
They're super short years. Yeah.
Yeah. It works really good because I'm out of town a lot.
Yeah.
Now, my wife, she's wonderful. She runs the ranch back home. We've got a horse breeding operation. I'm leaving a lot out, but you know, so you know, to put it in
running the household.
Yeah, she tends to my home. Yeah, and she works her tail off every day, keeping that thing in order. And it's not and I say this with all humility, the ranch is not just a few cows and a few horses running around. I mean, we figured it up. We feed about 15,000 people out of what we produce there at the ranch, and that's gratifying also to know we can be the proper stewards of these resources and they're fit for their proper use, going at the right place at the right time to the right person. So, and we're proud of those things.
Yeah. Good. And then Dakotah, we talked about having more podcasts together. I enjoyed it. We flow good together, dude. And
you know me, brother. I'm just here to rock and roll, man. Like I said, we're two different guys, two different personalities, and man, I just like meeting cool people and hearing a good story, man. You know, a lot of podcasts do a lot of things, and I think we're doing our thing, kind of getting into something here. And man, I'm excited to see where it goes. Like I said, we'll keep rocking and rolling and see what it looks like on the other end. But man, you know, from a personal note, thank you for having us. Glad I could help kind of introduce you to this guy and show show the old LinkedIn world the guy that I've been talking about, for the past several months. And man, it's just man, if you see a guy with a sharp dressed cowboy with a nice cowboy hat in West Texas, it's Chance. And like I said, man, you guys stop and introduce yourself. You know what I mean? He'll talk to you. If you got something on your mind, man, stop and talk to him, because that's one thing about him. He's very busy, but he's never too busy to share the word and to witness to somebody.
Absolutely.
Because that's what he told me. I've had a couple opportunities over the past several weeks, I guess, just to witness to some people, man, out of nowhere. Not even what I would call the right time, but it just happened like that. And then I was sharing some of that with him, and he said, "Now you're doing the real work." You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of struck home with me. So, for anybody needing that, man, and you see this guy, like, just stop and have a conversation with him. You'll be just as intrigued as as I was. Like I said, when I met him the first time, and but again, thank you for having us, and wish you the best, and good luck this year for
All
sure.
right, that's a wrap.